Good morning to everybody. I'm Gilda D'Incerti, CEO of PQE Group, and I'm glad to welcome you to the second episode of Unconventional Female Thought. The idea of this program is to give a voice to women describing different aspects of their life and the challenges they have overcome. So today I'm happy to welcome Kimberly Afonso, who is the founder of a niche global agency specialized in corporate brand strategies and specifically dedicated to support the CEO in presenting and promoting their vision related to the brand of their companies. Kimberly, you are US born, but lived many years abroad, so very interesting to meet you and to listen to your voice. So my first question would be, you have had a very peculiar, let's say, trend in your professional career. So we are very curious to hear about your story, how you started, what were the major challenges, and how things are going now.
Thank you, Gilda. Thank you for having me. So, yeah, I was born in the US in Philadelphia, and my mom was American, and my mom is American, and my dad is Portuguese. So I grew up with dual nationality. Of course, I'm definitely American. I consider myself American, but I also always had connections to Portugal through visiting, through speaking the language at a young age, and through having half of my family there. So it was really interesting growing up because even though I was American, I always did have a little bit more of a global view. In the US, we call this being a third culture kid, and it's when you actually relate to more than one culture. That's the term that we usually use, and I really resonated with that. It happened that at a young age as well, most of my friends also usually had parents that were foreign or who weren't born in the US. So from a young age, I definitely saw myself as being American, but also having ties outside of the US too. I went to university in the US in New York, and afterwards I always wanted to have more international experience. At that time, I knew how to speak Portuguese, English, and Spanish. And I really wanted to open my mind more to knowing how the world works. So I decided after college that I wanted to take a job in Spain, and that was my first job abroad. I worked in marketing in Spain for 2.5 years at different companies, and it was a great experience. I saw, many of the things that American people think are true, that aren't true. I saw the good, the bad, the ugly, all of the sides of working outside of the US. And after those roles, one of the challenges was the companies that I worked in. From a young age, I didn't see them really promoting a lot of women within the companies. So I was, getting really good reviews from my employers, but I didn't really see a lot of opportunity for growth. So at that time, I decided I wanted to really take the leap and work on my own. I think from growing up in the US, I definitely had an entrepreneurial mindset from a young age. So I think that helped me to feel confident enough, at least to try. So at that point, I had decided to move to Italy with my partner, who is a university professor. He had a new job opportunity from Spain to Italy. And when he was working at this job, I thought it was a great opportunity for me too to try something new. And the timing worked out that's when I decided to start to work on my own and start to build my company. So I really started, just as me, working on my own, and now I have 8 people working on my team. So, over the past 3.5 years, building little by little to increase the team and to really build the vision I have of a global team, having people all over the world working for clients, working for US-based clients, international clients, but really helping people and working with this global mindset and remote mindset. The company has been remote from the beginning of understanding. I think this is how the world will continue to work. So I wanted to start that from day one.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting. And actually, you were an innovator also before the pandemic, because you always worked remotely with people around the world. So I presume that this pandemic period has caught you not in a bad shape, let's say, because you were already accustomed to it. So another question I'm very interested in is, do you think it is different to be a women entrepreneur in Europe and in US? Do you think there is a different attitude with respect to your client regards this point?
Yes, I think the biggest difference is that there are usually more young entrepreneurial women that may start their own companies or work on their own from a young age in the US. So I think that the difference comes from just it being normal that you see that. So if you live somewhere like New York or another big city, it's very normal to see many women in their 20s starting their own companies, working on their own. Whereas in Europe, things are different for many reasons. Sometimes people study longer. Sometimes, they prefer to work in a company because it is very safe in Europe, and you can have a great career in a company. So I think the difference is that you really just don't see as many young women that have their own companies. So when people see it, maybe they're not as used to that. In the US, maybe they're more used to it. So starting a conversation with a leader, there are less, I would say, roadblocks because it's something more common. Whereas in Europe, it can be something that is new. It's not as common. So, of course, I definitely have seen differences just in starting conversations where people are more surprised in Europe if you're, younger and have your own company. Whereas in the US, they would say, great, that it seems kind of normal. So I think the challenge is just that it's not common, I would say. And this creates a little bit of a challenge when you start the conversation, because you're already starting from a place of, they don't fully understand that you have your own company, that you're working on your own. So you have to just explain a bit more to gain trust than maybe you would in the US. With that said, I don't think it's impossible or anything like that. I think it's just, as it's less common, people react the way they would to anything if they're not seeing it often where they live.
Okay. So one last question, Kimberly. What is your dream? Okay. How do you see you in the next 5 years? Where would you like to live, and what would you like to do?
So I really love the company that I'm building right now. I love the fact that we're able to work with global leaders. We learn so much, and I think it's the perfect match of being able to put our expertise to work with the team that I've built now and work with really interesting, inspiring people. So I definitely want to continue to work in this niche and to just work with CEOs and founders on their thought leadership strategies. I see the company continuing to grow in 5 years. I don't like to put numbers on how many employees I want or anything like that, because I think it's important to grow sustainably. So I really like the way we're growing now, which is one client at a time. We really make sure that the clients we bring in are a great fit for us, that we're a great fit for them, because up until now, what I really like about our company is that we work with people really long term. So most of the clients that we bring on, it's not that they, sign off after 4 months. We end up working with them for years. And I think that is how you really build great relationships and how you can actually do much better work. So I would like to continue growing at this rate, one client at a time, the right clients, building the team with that. So, in 5 years, we could have 15 employees, we could have 25 employees. I'm not sure the exact number, but I think we will see as we're growing. So that's really my vision now, to continue to have this global team, that we're working in this specific niche so that we continue to be the best at exactly that, as it's, there aren't many people doing exactly what we do. Usually the other people who work in this field do many things. And then on the personal side, I definitely want to continue to live in Europe. I love living in Italy now. I don't know if I'll continue in Italy, but if not in Italy, in Europe, I love that being my personal base, and having time to really, what I always like my employees to do as well is to have time for all of their passions. So, I'm very passionate about yoga, about personal growth. So really having the right balance, the right attitude to be able to do that and do business and have a healthy workforce. That's really something I've been very passionate about from the beginning. I, really want all of our team to be able to grow with us, to see that there is growth, and also, to have the time, the space to do our work amazingly, and also, have time for their other passions. That's really my vision.
That's very, very interesting, and you are a very special person, Kimberly. It would be nice to speak with you a long time. We will have, I hope, in the future, opportunities to do more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gilda. Thank you so much.